Well, welcome to this episode. I'm actually going to make keto pasties. I haven't actually made this recipe before, but we'll give it a crack and see how it turns out. Okay, so I've now got all of the ingredients that I needed to make the inner part of the pasty and also the pastry, I suppose. I am going to use the fathead pizza or the fathead dough that is sort of known through the keto community. And firstly, we pop in the mozzarella, which is 1 1/3 cups. It's quite sticky, so it is hard to measure it out, but just give it a good shove in the bowl. So that's 1. That's 1/3. That's 1 1/3 cup of mozzarella. Then we pop in the cream cheese. Now that needs to go into the microwave for a minute, then we take it out and stir. So you'll see that the cheese has now melted quite well, but it still needs a little bit further, so I'll just give that a stir through. You'll see that that is now mixed fairly well. Just give it another 30 seconds in the microwave. Okay, as you'll see there now, it's quite well melted. It's very easy to stir through. So I'm just continuing to make sure that that gets mixed well. To pop in half a cup of almond meal. That's half a cup. And then we'll pop in the egg. So that's a whole egg. So this just helps it rise. So I'll just do a tablespoon. And then I use my hands to mix all that through. Add salt as well, but I feel that with all the cheese, it's not really necessary, but again, that's a personal preference. as you can see now, it's come to a really good texture. And the best way to roll this dough out is actually between 2 sheets of baking paper. So that is 1 sort of serving of the fathead dough. So I can lay out some baking paper. Because it is such a sticky dough, this is really the best way to deal with it. Just pop it down. Now if you wanted to, you could get a roller out just by sitting the second piece of paper towel, of the baking paper on top. I just find it really easy, so easy to maneuver just by pushing it out. It's really a preference of how you want to deal with your dough. I'm going to now prepare the mixture for the filling. With that, I have 500 grams of beef mince and about 400 grams of veal. Now this might be too much because I'm not sure of the ratios. As I said, this is the first time I've made this dish, and there's no recipe specifically for this. I'm making it up as I go. Veal paper, it's a bit of a pain. I think I've got it all now. So basically I just rub those two together, just make sure they're well mixed. Add in 2 slices of bacon, again the nitrate free and preservative free bacon. I only use that, and I try really hard to get grass fed if I can with all my meats. So I just find it tastes nicer. So mix those meats together. Now I have spring onions from the garden. Again, you could use onion, you could use leek. In this situation I've decided to go with the onion, the spring onion. Going to pop in some garlic, just about 2 tablespoons of this minced garlic or 2 cloves finely chopped. Pop in an egg to help bind it all together. So I've decided to pop in some half a tablespoon of mild English mustard. Be careful of what's in your mustards, or any of your herbs, any of your mustards, to make sure there's no sugar added. Going to pop in half a teaspoon of paprika, so just ground paprika, just give it a bit of flavour to spice. And I'll do 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Now be careful also with your Worcestershire sauce, it is quite high in carbs, so we don't want to use too much. Obviously 2 tablespoons across all this meat. And then we're going to pop in some finely chopped tomatoes. Just pop that in. I don't want it to be too moist, but I don't want it to be too dry either. So, and then a beef stock cube. Again, be careful with your stock cubes because you can get brands that have a high sugar content in them. I'm just going to break this up because we'll be mixing that one through. Before we get mixing, you can see how beautiful and colourful that all is. Just give few shakes of pepper. Okay, now we'll give that a stir. Now the last thing I'm going to put in is the spinach leaves, baby spinach leaves. But I'm actually going to do that as I build the pasties, so we get a good even amount. Don't get too much spinach into each one. Okay. So our mixture is ready to go. Our pastry is ready to go. Let's see how this works. Okay. So I don't think we want them too small. Try, let's see how that goes. That's some meat. So now we're going to fold that over, so we want to try and have some edge to be able to squish it together. On the top, doesn't look very green. Give us some of our greens. Hide some of those vegetables. See if we can lift this off. And I guess we'll just. Oh, my hands are sticky. Squish that together and close it on the front here. Dough is quite easy to deal with. Bit of a weird shape. Okay, still there, ready to go. Okay, number one. So that's going to be pretty big. That's a bit of a big feast. So we might let's move this down so you can see them get built. So we have got quite a bit of mixture here, and I need to thin out this pastry a bit further. I won't bore you with those details. Put it on a time lapse so you can see how I go about doing it. Okay, so the first one was actually the best one, and I think it was because it was quite thick and it was easy to sort of maneuver the dough around it. The others are a lot thinner. I was trying to do it thinner so I could obviously use more of the mixture, but I think my best bet is to actually make some more dough, and then I'll cook those up and then I can pop them in the freezer for another day. So I'll put them in for 10 minutes and check them and see how much longer they need to go in. And until I actually have gone through the process, because it's not really a recipe that I've used before, well, it's actually not a recipe, I've made it up, I actually will just keep checking until I feel they're cooked. So let's pop them in the oven and see what happens. There we go. Okay, so we've now had the pasties in the oven for 10 minutes, and in that time I've burning. I haven't looked at them yet, so they've all bleached together. That's going to be interesting. I thought maybe I should turn them, but I don't think that's going to give me the opportunity to do that. It's a bit soft still. So I'll put them back in for another 10 minutes and see how they turn out. Now what I decided to do with the leftover mixture is actually cook it up, and I added some additional baby spinach and also baby kale, and I actually thought we'll make a lasagna out of this rather than more pasties, because I wasn't sure whether the pasties would work out. Okay, we'll wait for another 10 minutes and keep checking those pasties, and hopefully they'll be good. Okay, it hasn't been quite another 10 minutes, but I feel like I need to turn them. I really want to, but I just don't know whether it's going to actually work. So let's see what happens. There's quite a bit of liquid on that pan. I've got a fresh pan here, and I wonder if I can just maybe get underneath them. This is a dual pronged approach here. Actually, if they weren't so liquidy, the bottoms, they're a bit soggy, but they're cooked. Can't eat them soggy, so it's worth, or you could. I prefer not to. Making a bit of a mess here. But hey, enjoy cooking, you've got to make a mess or two. Trial things out. Never be frightened to try things. Right, let's give it a go. Put it in the oven again. See how the next few minutes work out. It's been another 5 minutes in the oven since we turned them. So let's take a look and see how they're going. Oh, it's a bit hot. Okay, they're quite well set. They don't look perfect, obviously, but it might be worth just checking to see if the mince is cooked. Perfect. Lovely. Okay, hopefully it tastes as good as it looks. There we have a fathead pasty with a mince assuming it's going to be very hot. Delicious. It tastes a little bit like a quiche actually, but it is beautiful. So there you have it. Obviously they don't look great, but they do taste great, and why not have a crack and see if you can do it at home, and do it again next time. Try and make it look a little prettier. We've just had our lunch, which was our beautiful little pasties here. Not much to look at, but really yummy. Just one thing I'd probably do differently is instead of a full tin of tomatoes, I'd do half a tin of tomatoes and maybe half a tin or half a container of tomato paste. And then also it just needed a little bit more flavour, so probably rather than half a teaspoon of paprika, I'd put in a full teaspoon. But anyway, next time I make them, I'll give it a go. So that I would hope would reduce the amount of fluid or liquid that was in them, therefore making them easier to turn over, and probably a little prettier, but they're not too bad. These will store in the fridge for a few days, or it will go into the freezer. There's nothing in there that can't freeze. So just if you're going to eat them from frozen, I'd defrost them in the fridge first, and then pop them in the oven to reheat them so they don't get all soggy. So hopefully you'll get enjoyment out of it as much as we did. See you next time.